Folks, it's been windy the last 2 days, extremely windy. So we're gonna try this little guy right here and see how well that works. I don't know. Never had one of these little things like that, but we'll see where it is, man. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the first part of this video. And what I'm gonna do really quick is kind of lead into what I did and why I did some of the things I did and the tomato plants that I put in. Because what we're gonna do each week is we're going to add a row of plants as well as companion plants and kind of make a step down. So you got your tomato plants that are gonna get really tall and bushy because most of them are the cherry variety. So we're gonna go there, then we're gonna do some other plants that we'll do each week. We'll kind of update the garden, hopefully. and kind of step it down. So we'll do with the tomato plants, some mid-sized plants, down to some smaller plants, and then intermingle some companion plants in there, maybe a couple of herbs to kind of keep the bugs away, even though it should be relatively cool this time of year in Zone 9B here in Florida. So enough of me rambling. Let's go over to the garden and see what I did. Hopefully the wind doesn't bother you guys too much. Like I said, I got that little weird, they call it a dead cat. So I have a dead cat on me, and let's go out to the garden and have a quick discussion. You kind of saw some of the little gadgets that I used, and I used that square thing that you saw me kind of make the grid lines here to give me just the spacing that I'm looking for. It's very helpful. If you guys have ever seen one of those, you probably know what it is. If not, I'll link it down below. If you're interested in that, because it comes in very handy when you're trying to do seeds or smaller seeds. It's a little gadget that I got on Amazon and that was recommended to me by some other gardeners out there. And you're probably wondering why we got some gaps in here. And we'll go over the types of tomato plants these are, because these two and that one are the same. This is my wife's favorite. She's been wanting to grow this because she grew the last one we grew from seeds. This is a heirloom variety, and we'll talk about that here in a second. All right, so let's talk about these two guys right here and kind of see how I put them in there. You know what I mean? Kind of look around it. But these are called Candyland, if I recall the name correctly, but they're very sweet cherry tomato. We have some recipes in mind, and that's why we're choosing to do these like very sweet tomatoes. And so we choose those couple to stick in there. I'm going to double check to make sure I get that name right. Candyland cherry tomato. So I do have that. We keep the little things here just to remind us what kind of plants we have growing. This is kind of more of a bush variety, but it will get it can get anywhere from 3 to I think 5 feet tall. So eventually here in the next couple of weeks, you'll see me build some trellises, and I'm going to do it a much more affordable way than buying trellises, and I'll explain that here as well. But this is my wife's favorite plant. If you guys have watched me garden and watch her, well, she's behind the scenes, but her favorite tomato plant was the yellow pear. Yellow pear, it's a cherry tomato. It's an heirloom cherry tomato. It's an indeterminate. So this thing can just produce and produce and produce. And the last time she grew it from seed, and the thing was enormous. If you guys haven't seen that video, I'll link it up above when I kind of go over the plant. You guys can see how windy it is. And then of course we have one more, Candyland. Now what we're going to do here in these spots that you see some gaps is we're going to transplant, because we have lots of beautiful marigolds in here. We're going to take some of our marigolds, and then we're going to bring them over here and intermingle them around our plants once these guys start settling in. We're probably also going to put maybe a little bit of basil in here as well along the back end of this to prevent other infestations in case, because the other night we did find some tomato / tobacco hornworms on this plant here, which is our eggplant. I got a lot of work to do. We're going to do a video on me cleaning up this. We're going to make this into a huge herb garden here, and we're going to winterize this plant here, which is the eggplant. It's very massive and it needs to be cut back just because these don't really do too good in the cooler months. So she wants to save this. She wants to transplant it, but I don't know how to do that yet. We're going to kind of look at that. But anyways, there goes the air conditioner. Who would have thought here in Florida, you still got air conditioning going on. Anyways, so you can kind of see how I got these lined up. And like I said, what we'll do here is we'll step it. These plants will grow really tall. Then we'll have another row of plants and another row of plants here. And then intermingling with some of these plants, we're going to put some root vegetables like beets and stuff in here. And maybe we might even try carrots again the right way, not like in the last year's way, or kind of in the summer, which didn't do too good with carrots. So we're going to play around with some things, some brassicas and some other fun stuff in the garden throughout this winter. A lot of folks won't be gardening because they'll be snowed in and it'll be extremely cold. But here in Florida, for the next at least month or so, it'll be between 80 and 50 degrees. Even in late December, it'll be maybe high 60s and 70s, or mid 70s to high 60s. Max, it'll probably get down to 40 degrees if we're lucky. I like the cold, so this is kind of going to be a practice garden. It's going to see if we can grow year round. I've never tried this before, but I've talked to some folks and they say you'll have a lot more success because the bugs don't like the cold and all that stuff. So real quick, as you saw me redo this garden, what I did was you know, till up the garden to kill any insects that might be in the ground. You till it up really good. You saw me do that. And then what I did is after I tilled it up, I removed all the debris that I didn't want in there. Some of it had some bugs and stuff. You saw me remove the last of the Seminole pumpkins. And we got a bunch of those, and we'll be doing a video hopefully here towards mid-November for the Seminole pumpkin pie. So stay tuned for that. But you saw me till this thing up, and then what I did is I added another 6 to 8 inches of new soil. And then what I did with that, it's organic soil. It had some compost already in there, so I kind of went that route. And then what I'm going to do is, you probably saw, is I added some fertilizer in there, some organic-based fertilizer into the ground, mixed it into this dirt, watered it, let it sit for over a day after I mixed the fertilizer into the ground, then watered it again, just to get it prepped. And then I let the heat from yesterday kind of bake everything and warm up the soil and whatnot after doing that. And then this morning is what I did, is finished up putting these plants in, and we'll see how they do over the next couple of weeks as we start to add other plants. So that was just kind of like an overview of what I did. Of course, if you guys have any questions at all or wondering about anything, please don't hesitate to write it in the comments. I love reading your comments. I love getting suggestions, you know, things I might have missed, things I could do to get better yields for what I've got going on here. I love learning from you, my viewers, as well as some of you viewers that like learning from me. So, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some lattice, and we'll probably put about a 3 foot to maybe 4 foot across there. We're gonna run lattice across this back wall here. That's why I left the space behind here. As you can see, there's spacing right there along the back. And we're gonna put some lattice in there. We're gonna get some 2x8s. They're pretty cheap, cut them in half, and run the 4 pieces across this back here, so that as these tomato plants grow, we can kind of pin them and tie them off to that lattice and let them kind of grow on there, because they are cherry tomatoes and they can get very crazy because they are indeterminate. So they can kind of just grow and grow and grow. And we'll see how much tomatoes. We'll start weighing them out as we start popping them. And then we'll get a total by, let's say, March, if they last that long, depending on how the weather is. You never know what kind of storms we may get or what may happen, or if we actually get a super freeze that's going to do something bad to these plants. But most tomato plants can handle, even in the low 50s, sometimes some people say 45 degrees, but 50s is usually that safe zone still. But we'll see. They're going to get good sun, the soil's amended, everything is looking good, and we'll be building this garden out over the winter months. So yes, this will be the Grey's winter garden. You guys can, the folks up there in the frozen states, as winter moves its way into to your area and you get snowed in and ice and the frigid temperatures, can kind of live vicariously through my winter garden here in Florida, sunny Florida. As you guys can see, it's always seems to be sunny in Florida, but I don't know if the sun was shining there or not. It's hard for me to see into the camera. But anyways, so that's what we got going on in the winter garden. And I really look forward to, if you enjoyed the way I did this video, I figured I would do something different, kind of go through the whole process of me getting everything prepped and ready to go, and then kind of showing you that versus just talking and talking and talking like I'm doing now. But I figured I needed some explanation of what's going on with the garden, how we're going to build it out, and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this or some information, or looking forward to watching and seeing if we have a successful garden this year in regards to winter gardening here in Florida, Zone 9B. I like to reiterate that because there is a Zone 9B in California as well, because there's a couple of gardeners out there that I watch. All right, folks, so that's the beginning of, let's say we can call it episode 1 or whatever. Those are the tomato plants that we got going on. That's the gist of the garden so far. We should have lots of fun. I'm going to try to do weekly updates. Worst case scenario, we'll do bi-weekly, just because there's always a lot of things going on with, you know, life in general. And I'll try to video as much of it as I can, because I know that you guys that have been following me for quite some time love the gardening videos. And this summer was horrible for gardening. We had an okay garden season, but it wasn't the best. So we're going to see how we do. And if this proves where I'm hypothesizing, that's the proper way of saying that, hypothesizing that we will have a better yield and a better time gardening in the cooler months here in Florida. This is my assumption. Now there's some plants like my peppers and stuff like that that will wait till, let me see, April-ish, maybe late April, May, and we're going to work on all different types of variations of peppers to grow in the garden, because my wife loves hot peppers. I like mild and sweet peppers, but we just love peppers in general. So we'll be doing that as well. Again, if you have any questions at all, please put that down in the comments. If you got any value out of this, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're new here, please subscribe. Check out the rest of the channel. I think we have a gardening playlist. I hope I do. And look forward to seeing you guys down there and interacting with you folks, as well as you folks interacting with one another. But remember, folks, you are not alone. This is GreyMan. I'm out. I'll see you guys in a rebound. God bless every one of you, and thank you again for watching.